Last episode I showed you why the PE ratio is important. But what's the point of knowing all the theory if you can't use it in practice, right? Well, in this episode, we'll be using Apple as a case study. And so over here I've collated a table where it gives you all the information that you actually need to find the PE ratio. So first thing that you need is the share price. Then you need the net income of Apple or the company that you're trying to find it, the amount of preferred dividends they gave out, the shares outstanding they have, and through this you can quite simply find the earnings per share by equating the net income minus the preferred dividends over the shares outstanding, which will give you the earnings per share for that time. And then the final step to actually finding the PE ratio is quite simply dividing the share price at that time by the earnings per share of that company. PE ratio in 2025 for Apple is $19.23. But this doesn't actually mean anything unless you start comparing it with other PE ratios in the market. Nasdaq's PE ratio is around $33, which is around the same as the average of the top 4 companies in the tech industry. But if you look at Apple, right, Apple has a really low PE ratio as compared to all the other ones. In theory, this means that the stock is extremely undervalued, and nearly 50% of its original expected market price. But take into account that Apple is a mature, steady company. If you solely look at its earnings, it's definitely undervalued and you should buy Apple. But if you look at the bigger picture and see that Apple is not exactly innovating as it used to and growing as fast as it used to, the lower PE ratio could indicate that there's not that much potential that investors see in the company. So at the end of the day, the PE ratio is a good indicator to know how the company is doing compared to its peers. But it entirely depends on the narrative that you want to tell. If you have the capability to take on that risk, definitely go for it. But if you're not so sure about it, there are a lot of other indicators that you need to look into. That's it for today, and thank you so much.